Well, hi guys, and welcome to Dad's shed, and I now have the appropriate cut for it. And what am I doing here? Well, there is a little outline drawing, and the whole point of this is I have a block of Delrin in here, one of two, which I need to use. Thankfully I had some sitting here. And there are two blocks I have to machine up, which are going to be 25mm wide, stepped at one end, one at 25mm width, one at 18mm width, then cut underneath at a slight chamfer and drilled through 6mm, and they are to bolt onto a knee support brace. And unfortunately, with the wife having broken her leg, she has to wear one of these things. But the stupidity of them is that with a cast on her lower leg, there is nothing to tighten to that is either parallel or tapered to hold it in place. So you do them up, and as you walk, the whole thing drops down to your ankles. Not the most useful thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of these plastic blocks up that I can screw to a 6.2mm slot, and they will sit over the top of the cast, and it will just stop them dropping down. It won't put weight onto the cast, but it will just hold them so that they can't drop to the floor, and the straps that then on the leg and on the cast itself will hold them in place. So that's a little job that the wife has commissioned, so I better get on with it. All I'm doing here, I'm just going to square this round block up and get it to the point where it's 25mm square. Yeah, that's fine. That's 25mm. That's gone up 4.2. So just move on to another side. Right, that's gone up 4.2mm to take me down, so as I'm just touching there, let's go a couple of mil. Well, I'm just going along, and all I'm doing is taking this down to a square section, or squarish. None of the measurements on this are absolutely critical, so I'll come back to you when I've got a bit further down the line, just show you what I'm actually finishing up with. Hi all, and we're back in the shed. I'm continuing some work on these blocks, oh excuse me, for the wife's brace. All we've done so far is we've taken what was a piece of round and we've basically squared it off. These are not exactly the same size. One needs to be approximately 18mm across the top and across the whole width, and the other one's 25, which is this one. Because of the shape it's got to sit, it needs to be sort of at an angle, so the bottom is narrower than the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skim across here in a moment, but first off I'm going to drill a hole through ready to tap, and then I'm going to skim across and I'm going to leave a little piece in the middle which will help centralise the thing. So I'm going to use my little centering toy because I like using it because it's really quite useful, and I'll be using the DRO, which you can just about see there. I did have a comment on one of my other videos about the positioning of the DRO, but as you can see here it's not actually set, and I can move it around wherever I want it to be comfortable for my viewing. It's on the right hand side, that's the only thing that's set, and its height, but it's on eye line for me, and I can tilt it backwards and forwards. I don't know whether you can pick that up on the camera, but you can tilt the thing, and I can position it basically wherever I want it to be. So that's really good from my point of view. And one of the things that doesn't come out in the instructions for this is how to actually do one of the most useful functions. So if I take this across to here, let's put a bit more light on the subject so I can see a little better. Ah, that's better. Right. Right. Okay. Let's zero that. .4. Okay, happy with that. So what I can now do is press X half, and that gives me the half. So if I now drop that down and go back, to 0, and that's my centre position. It doesn't make it clear on the instructions, so it's literally simple. You zero it one side, move it across the other side, get it there. That gives you the total travel. It ignores the diameter of the centering gauge you're using, and then hit X half, and it halves it. Nice and easy. Right, so while I'm here, I'll take this This is one of the problems I do find with this, is occasionally it doesn't want to play games in terms of unsticking itself. If I move that across again, okay, excellent, and I can now say that that Y position is 3mm. So I know that's a 6mm centre. So that is really useful use of the DRO. Right. So the next thing is I need to go down here, put a centre hole in and drill through the 6mm tapping size. I'll go in while this is at an angle. I'm not too concerned about that. In fact, I'll probably straighten off the bit I'm going to do first, and then I'll take this hole face down to the angle I need it to be. Right, let's put a cutter in. Okay, so I know it's not, this is Delrin and it shouldn't make a difference, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go down with a slot drill. I've got 1/2 inch slot drill. I'm going to go down into this so that when I start to drill it, I actually will have something flat rather than angled to cut into. That's it. That's all I need to do. Touched off on there. That's good. So now get that back out. So I'm 43mm from that end face, going that way. All of these are nominal sizes. Yeah, it's not, they're nominal sizes. They're not what they need to be, because there is no need on this. Everything is roughly where it needs to be. And the whole point of that is that there is nothing that I'm working on which actually gives me any decent reference faces. So I just need to make sure that I've got everything in approximately the right place. And I know any engineers amongst you will hate this, but there is nothing to measure off. It's all movable, it's all soft, and I need something that will just go where I want it to be. So these dimensions I'm using are very, very much nominal dimensions. I'm half listening to the monitor I've got here to see what's going on in the house. So that's the hole drilled. Now I've got a 6mm tap in here. And drop that in. Bring my centre point down again to the top. This is a nice, again, a buy from a boot sale. It's an Eclipse tapping chuck, so I can just stick that in there. It's got a centering hole in the top, and that will allow me to just tap straight down without it going off centre or going in at strange angles. Right, so that's tapped. What I want to do now is machine down either side. I'm going to leave a small piece here that will sit in the slot in the arm just below where the bolt goes, so that will help centralise it more or less. So I'm just going to bring the cutter along in a moment, go along there, and then I will be cutting off the end approximately here, so I'll just leave about a 6mm nub sitting up. Right, let's get the cutter back in. Move that out of the way for the next one. This goes in there. Half inch can go in now. Put that back over there, back in the block. Now have a quick cup of tea. Half inch, .35 plus another 3, 9.35. Right, that should take me just off to the side of the hole there. We'll find out in a moment, won't we? Actually, why don't we find out now? Yeah, that will just go down there. That's good. Alright. It's not that I don't trust technology, but I don't always trust technology. most of the machining done on this bit. So it's really a fairly boring little job, and that's all there is to it. It's an angle piece that will sit over the top of the cast, that will sit against the brace leg, screw through there, and that will then just sit at the bottom and stop it rotating too much. All I am going to do, I'm going to stick this in here and I'm going to run a dovetail cutter just into that for a minute, and that will then let me make sure it bites in and doesn't slide off, if that makes sense. It does to me. So, but I'll do that off camera in a minute. So that's the first one done. I've got one more to do to that stage, but you've seen it done now. So hopefully that will be an improvement to the rather questionable strap-on leg brace, to actually enable it to stay where it's supposed to be. See if we can go and get the Mrs. Mobile. I've got quite a lot to do with this, so I'm going to double check that everything is as tight as it should be. Having in the past experienced it loosening off, I don't enjoy that experience over much. So what I'm going to do is just give this another tweak, just to make absolutely certain that's, yeah, that's still tight. When you're halfway through cutting frames for a steam locomotive and the cutter starts wandering out, yeah, 15. This machine doesn't have an anti-backlash nut on it, which is one of the reasons I'm only cutting from one direction. Let's clear some of the swarf. Well, you can call it swarf. What do you actually call it when it's plastic? Okay, so this should now be more or less complete, apart from trimming that end down. So I'll just put that in the bandsaw, trim that end off, and then, as I've done with this one, and that's the other one one of the pair. If I put my hand behind it, because it's black, it's now trimmed down. I've rounded the edges off so there's no sharp edges, and that one is now the same, slightly different angle because nothing on this thing is consistent. I just need to trim it down now to there, and that will then sit in the brace. Right, get that done and then go and have a word with the other half and get it fitted. It's a very different bit of work for Dad's shed, but probably one of the most useful things I'm going to have done in here for quite some time. If this can get the other half a little more mobile, a little more securely, then that's a good job done, I think. Hope you enjoyed this brief visit, and I'll see you at some other point in Dad's shed.